The fine rain fell on the roof, the patter of the drops the only sound filling the late afternoon. I was sitting on the porch, looking out at the yard that was once filled with laughter and hurried footsteps. Now, there was only the sound of the wind and the lazy sway of the hammock. Funny how time changes things, and people too. They call me stubborn, say I'm too much of a dreamer for my age. But what they don't know is that every bit of my stubbornness has a reason. Every stored-up dream still beats inside me. I was never the model daughter, nor the one who made the family proud at gatherings. I always heard comparisons, was always the other one, the one who didn't follow the right path, who gave up too soon. I remember clearly when it all started to go wrong. I worked in a simple grocery store, the kind that smelled of coffee and warm bread early in the morning. The owner, Mr. Alvaro, was a kind man, but he kept reminding me that I could be more, that I had a knack for teaching, for dealing with people. He'd say, "Girl, you have a spark in your eye. You should study to be a teacher." I'd smile, but deep down I knew my family would never support it. "Teaching? And live on what?" my mother would say, laughing as if being a teacher was a child's game. And my father. My father. He always looked at me as if I were a burden. He said I should be like my sister, Clara. Always proper. Always admired. Clara pursued a military career, studious, disciplined. Everything I never was. Back then, I tried to hide how much the comparisons hurt. Pretending not to care was easier than trying to prove my worth. Then one day, life decided to truly test me. Mr. Alvaro got sick, and the grocery store ended up closing. I found myself without a job, without direction, and with the weight of "I told you so" looks from everyone. I spent days locked in my room, listening to my mother talk about how Clara was about to be promoted. And there I was, with empty hands and a heart full of shame. But something inside me screamed not to give up. I started sewing, doing small repairs for the neighbors. And slowly, I got back on my feet. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every stitch I made was like a step away from that feeling of failure. The ladies on the street began to trust me, and soon, what was a side gig became a real job. Still, at home, I was a joke. "While Clara commands soldiers, you command needles," my father would say, with that air of someone amused by his own cruelty. One night, I sat at the table and bravely said I wanted to go back to school. My father dropped his newspaper and looked at me as if I'd said the most foolish thing in the world. "What for? You're past that age. Stick to your sewing and don't get any wild ideas." Those words echoed in my mind for weeks. I cried in secret, but I didn't give up. I started studying on my own, with old notebooks and borrowed library books. Every page I turned was a way of proving, at least to myself, that I could still become someone better. Looking back now, I realized that was the first step in a turnaround no one expected. Time would show that even the simplest thread can weave a grand destiny. But back then, I didn't know. I just kept going, sewing dreams between threads and hopes, never imagining that fate was about to bring me face to face with the biggest twist of my life. Months passed, and my routine of studying and sewing began to bear fruit. I didn't have money for private lessons, but determination drove me. I'd take my notebooks to the small town square, sit on a wooden bench, and read aloud to fix every word, every concept in my mind. The neighborhood ladies, who once only trusted me with mending clothes, started asking me about books and for advice on bills. It was strange, but gratifying. I felt that finally, someone noticed my effort. Meanwhile, Clara continued to shine in her military career. I followed her achievements from a distance, always hearing news of promotions and awards. My mother never missed a chance to remind me. "Look at Clara, dear. What pride she brings us. And you, don't you want to better your life?" My father, as always, remained silent, just watching with that disapproving look that made me want to shrink. Then, an unexpected letter arrived. It was from a former colleague at the grocery store. He had moved to the next town and needed a private tutor for his daughter. He offered me the job, and although it was humble, it was my chance. I accepted without hesitation, my heart racing with fear and expectation. The first few days were challenging. The girl was curious and smart, but stubborn. Slowly, her trust in me grew, and with it, my own confidence. Her mother, a respected woman in the community, would sometimes mention to my mother, "Your daughter is lucky to have a teacher like her. She's dedicated and intelligent." When those words reached my mother, she'd fall silent. My father, however, remained reserved. But something in me no longer cared so much for their approval. I was building my own story. Then came the invitation that would change everything. The school in the next town needed a substitute teacher for 3 months. My experience with that little girl got me the recommendation. It was the chance to prove my competence to people who didn't know me, to prove to myself that I wasn't just the failed daughter. I accepted, my heart pounding, knowing this could be the start of something big. The first day of class was a mix of nerves and excitement. I entered the room, books clutched to my chest, and looked at those curious faces. I took a deep breath and began to speak. Soon, I realized their attention was more than just curiosity. There was a silent expectation in the air, and it gave me strength. I was there, finally, not as the daughter who failed, but as someone who could teach and inspire. Weeks passed, and the change in me was visible. My posture, my confidence, my way of handling difficult situations, it all evolved. My dedication started attracting attention. The school's administration praised my patience, and parents complimented me. One morning, while I was in the principal's office, I heard my name spoken with surprise. "Are you really from Clara's family?" asked the school's commander, a stern man known for his high standards. I froze for a moment. He continued, "I never imagined someone from your family had so much hidden talent." The whole room went silent. Even my father, who had come to visit the school, was speechless. In that instant, I felt a mix of disbelief and joy. All the effort, every tear, every night studying alone, had led me to that moment. The commander offered me a permanent position at the school. I accepted, my hands still trembling. Finally, the label of failure fell away. My family's reaction was silent but gradual. My mother started looking at me with a mix of surprise and respect. My father, once so critical, finally hugged me, a gesture that meant more than 1,000 words. He silently acknowledged that I had found my own path. In the following months, my life changed for good. I no longer had to prove anything to anyone, but it was gratifying to see my transformation recognized. The girl who once cried in her room, feeling inadequate, had given way to a secure, fulfilled woman. Eventually, the school asked me to coordinate a community project. It was a chance to inspire even more people. The project was a huge success, and at the recognition ceremony, the whole community gathered. When my name was called to receive the award, the room filled with applause. My family was in the audience, looking at me with genuine pride. Clara hugged me and whispered, "You really did it." In that moment, I knew the label of failure was gone forever. I, who was once called a failure, was now living proof that determination and self-belief can turn any story into a happy and fulfilling one. Thank you for watching my story unfold. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more.